How many of you would like to trade places with me here today, huh? All right, here's the third question. How do I get to know somebody without becoming emotionally vulnerable? So in other words, how do I get to know somebody without having my heart broken again and again and again? And I'm just going to say this, that if you are going to get to know somebody, you're going to eventually have to be somewhat vulnerable. The problem is what so many people do nowadays is it's what's called emotional vomiting. So you meet somebody and you're just barely getting to know them and you tell them everything. You tell them your entire life story. You tell them everything way too much prematurely. Don't do that. Don't do that. In fact, this is what Tatum and I did, and maybe, just maybe, you can take some advice out of what we did and help craft your own story. But I had come from a lot of crash and burn relationships before I met Tatum. And we determined that we were going to do things God's way the whole time. So back then, my very first car that I ever had was a Ford Ranger extended cab black. It was a 5-speed. And I told Tatum, I said, honey, I didn't call her honey then, I just said, Tatum, we're in first gear right now. And first gear is all about relationship. And we're just going to focus on relationship. We made sure that we did not talk about any intimate things. We created emotional boundaries around areas. We focused on, hanging out with friends. We did things in groups. We did things at the church. We did things at my parents' house or at her parents' house. We were very intentional about that. And there was a day in prayer that I really felt the Lord speak to me that, Chris, it's time for you to put this car into second gear with Tatum. And I knew what the Lord was talking about. So I came to Tatum and I said, could you ever see yourself getting married to me? And she said, yes, very much I could see myself getting married to you. And it was at that point we went into second gear, and that's all about courtship. So we began to develop this the relationship where we had mentors speak into our lives. We had different books that we began to read. We really grew our relationship. Third gear is engagement. And people ask me, they say, how long, Chris, should somebody be engaged, or how long should they be dating before they get married? And I always tell them it needs to be at least 3 years. I'm kidding. I just want to see if some of you guys are listening today. All right? 3 years. No, I'm just kidding. It varies for every single person. It's always different. But what I would say, and I would make a strong argument for this, is that the courtship needs to be very long. Like, you really need to get to know who this person is. And then the engagement is really short. Because when you're engaged, the sexual temptation spikes like you wouldn't believe. Long courtship, short engagement.